Yes. Welcome, family.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
I'm home with my honey.
Look, we're back on the same channel together. We're back on the same screen. It's good to see you all. Glad for everybody who's here. We are H&D Abroad. I'm Herman.
I am Dee, and we are so excited to be in the same place again. As you all know, I just finished a house sit in Florida. I did several posts from the beach, which, as I'm trying to investigate what will bring my heart joy in the move abroad. As y'all know, I'm shamelessly pro Spain and pro a few countries where I can be right near the water. So it's good to be home. It's good to.
It makes it all worth it. Now we can have a real show.
Absolutely. So I have been looking forward to this conversation because we did a video about. We did a comparison video when we visited Morocco and did our first scouting trip to Sevilla, Spain, in April and early May. And the reason why we felt confident, or at least I felt confident, you could say how Black in Spain helped you, but there's general questions about Spain. But then as a woman of color, as a Black woman, I had Black culture questions. I'm always wanting to know, how are we received? Where can I find the things that will help my life flourish? That is Black community, that is getting my hair done, where can I get my makeup? Those kinds of things were really relevant. And being able to say, hey, we're in town, I'd love to do a meetup with people, the other expats that have moved to the area. So that was important on our trip. And that's what Black in Spain did for me during that trip. What about you?
Well, it's information wise. You all have heard me say time and again, on the ground is where I learned, but having information from which to have a perspective is helpful. Then I know what I'm looking for, what I'm looking at. So that, and that's kind of where we're also going to be jumping in today. It's big to have information so that when you get the opportunity to explore for yourself, you have a foundation from which to build. Take a quick minute and say hello to all the people in the chat already. So hello to Locating Cozy. Good to see you.
Yolanda, who is, she knows how much she shares my heart love for Spain as well. She was the one that introduced me to Zaragoza and, kind of gave me some on the ground. She's got a lot of good content on her channel about living in Spain, and her daughter and son-in-law and granddaughter that are there too. So, servant teacher Nikki.
We're going to say hello to you and David.
Yes.
Hey, Dave. Welcome to see you.
So, we're talking about our move abroad conversation with David and Nikki at the end of September. But we have invited people who already have a mindset about moving to Spain, who are interested in, kind of doing that kind of investigation. So, hey, Kimberly from Chicago. All right.
And Lauren Exhibit. Hi, nice to see you. Nice to meet you. So as you come in, jump in, tell us you're here, because as we always say, this is a conversation. Yes, we are interviewing. Yes, we're facilitating, but this is a conversation. So we really want you all to be a part of this conversation. So jump in with your questions, jump in with your comments, jump in with your experience. It always helps us to build a better conversation.
Because this channel is all about
building
community,
looking at moving abroad as a plan A. And really experiencing our journey in this process in real time. We are looking to find where we want to go. So we are examining so many places, and we want you to be on this journey with us. So if that hits your button, we ask you to hit our buttons, the like, the share, the subscribe, the notifications. Those help us stay in contact with you and for you to stay in contact with us.
Absolutely. So, okay, so this is our first connection with a social media founder. What I have found is the value of creating space, creating safe space, and helping people to navigate through opportunities to connect. And so Taryn readily accepted our invitation to come on and talk about her experience, her travel experience, deciding that, Spain was a place where she wanted to create a safe space for people to ask the questions that sometimes don't get the same level of visibility in other expat groups. And we are so honored to have her join us today.
So we're bringing her on now.
Absolutely. Hey, Taryn.
Hello, how are you all?
Great. Welcome to our show, our channel. We're glad to have you with us today.
Yes, happy to be here.
All right. So we'll jump right in. Go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Taryn Anaisah. I'm originally from South Carolina. What took me and my husband and our family to Spain was his PCS move in the military. We're both military, dual military. Well, prior to military, I need to get used to it. I recently got out in June of this year. We were sent out there for his military assignment, and we lived out in town in El Puerto de Santa Maria, and we just made the absolute most of it. And creating Black in Spain was purely out of just like what Dee said. It's just like I wanted to create an environment or either find that community if it was already there to just be more comfortable and not to feel as though I had to acclimate or try to just be invisible and just get by. So it definitely came out of that inspiration and from other places we have been that had communities like that, especially that social media presence. So I just wanted to kind of emulate that and kind of bring it to the place that I was at, and try to kind of create that community as well. And not necessarily that I'm just creating it, it's all about the people that, are joining and adding their knowledge, because I'm not all knowledgeable about being in Spain, especially the area that I was in. But I felt like there's everybody that brings their, bit of information to it, and so I'm creating this whole, hodgepodge of knowledge for everyone to, benefit from, here at the moment and in the future, even if I'm not able to still be a part of it or in charge of it or admin word, I won't say in charge, but yeah, so hopefully it'll continue to keep growing and people will keep contributing and people will keep getting information from it that helps them, and they don't have to work so hard for it, or have to pay people to get it. Either just when you come there, you do a quick search and somebody probably has an answer for you, just like that. And it doesn't, create this headache or this difficulty that makes you regret even, trying something new or coming out there.
Absolutely. What I have appreciated is people are not afraid to ask the hard questions. I wanted to bring forward some of the things that have come that I've seen in the group. One of them is what city, where in Spain are more Black people located? We've had several very robust conversations about that. Do you think that, just from your perspective of being traveled in different places, I know you've mentioned Hawaii, Japan, is it, should it, can it, have you seen it be important to move to places where you are there is a large community that looks like you?
Honestly, every time that we go out to travel anywhere, when I'm doing, and I'm usually the planner, you know, so I usually like Google Black community or Google
Yes.
African, you know, and then I attach, you know, whatever I'm interested in, whether it be restaurant, whether it be, you know, leisure, you know, whatever the case, or events, you know, because there's usually a lot of, you know, situations where they're like Afrofest is one of the things that, you know, will quickly pop up before I even got there and things of that nature. But I always put, you know, Black and that's the first thing. An African restaurant for my husband, because we got to find out if there's a Nigerian restaurant somewhere. So that's usually what I'm always looking for. So that's what kind of propels me into like, okay, there's a community here for it because you know there's a restaurant here, there's a hub where a lot of people will kind of gather there, you know, and we just kind of push on from there. So it is definitely very important whenever we go somewhere that we kind of try to find people that you know can give us a feel like we're comfortable here. There's people that were already you know set roots here or you know have information that we find useful. So that's definitely very important.
Hmm. Hmm.
How did that benefit in you all deciding where you were kind of going to live to work from? I mean, I know that your husband is stationed, but how did that help with some of the on the ground planning that you did?
So basically, it to be honest, we kind of just since we had our small family, we just had one daughter at the time I was pregnant. It was more so just like focused on comfort. But at the end of the day, we knew that once we started to move about, you know, around us, like how easy was it to get to those places as far as those communities, and obviously easy for us being in the military and having base access we can find a lot of people that that look like us or we can see what they're doing, but a lot of people live off base, so it wasn't like we had the safety of like, oh, we're here with all the people we know, we just come to base every time we wanted to do things. It's like we did Juneteenth events that people would kind of put together. I know that you mentioned like you want to where you can get your hair done, things of that nature. So, funny enough, there's a Rhoda Kinky Curly group, if I'm not mistaken, that's still up and going. That they always share information about whether or not somebody's arrived that can do like micro locks. I know that was for me when I was there. I was wanting to start micro locks, and that's an ongoing thing. Like there are constant posts. There'll be somebody just moved and come in and be like, hey, anybody here do sister locks? Anybody do micro locks? And we're like, oh no, we're still waiting. So so it's always there's always somewhere, some event or social gathering or whatever the case may be that people are like connecting. Even if it's that person that's doing hair out of the house, you're still getting some kind of community connection and networking there because you're gonna meet other people looking for that same service and are providing different services that just happen to know, because they've interacted with that person for that particular service. Like, oh, somebody does nails, or this person, helps with travel or whatever. You know.
Hmm. I want to put forward the question from Yolanda with Locating Cozy. Was any situation that made you think twice about moving to your specific location? So, I mean, I know you all were stationed at Rhoda, but like there's plenty of places to choose from. What helped you to drill down on your particular neighborhood?
Okay, so our neighborhood was located in, I'll say the address, Calle de la Cathedral. So it was a little roundabout area, like the smallest little home area. So it's like you'll kind of go off the road and then it's just a donut, it's just a circle of houses that are like on each opposite end. And it's not even that far, it's like less than a mile of this little circle. And it's just like it was mostly older people, but there were children that would be there. But it wasn't crazy upscale. We were, in a very rural area that was very close to the market. That's probably the only big thing. But it was nice. It was quite quiet. I think the things that gave us hesitancy was just like our research prior to going there, because just like anywhere, you want to hear about crime rate, any type of safety issues. So we would see a lot of things about petty crimes, about the people that stay downtown. So people kind of breaking into your homes and taking things, but anything like violent altercations or anything like that. So we're very wary of that. So the fact that we had such close neighbors, it didn't give us, too much of the worry that we would have had if we were just out in the place by ourselves or farther away from, you know, um, a place where we could run to or, get help or what have you. So weren't crazy out in the pasture, just, by ourselves. We were, and Spain has very beautiful landscapes. So it's like it's easy to probably find like a place that's like you're kind of all alone and it's nice and quaint, but it's pretty safe if somebody decides to target you. But no, that's the only thing that ever made us really think twice. Safety wise, I think safety.
Mhm.
How long have you all been there so far?
So when we're stationed there, we're there for around 2 years.
Okay.
We recently left, and that was last year in August. So
Okay.
Yeah. You let's see. So I know we want to ask the safety question.
Mhm.
So if you were to describe why you felt safe, that is a common question that we ask our guests is what elements of being in a new place as an expat, as an immigrant, however you want to describe yourself outside of your country of origin, what elements of being in that place help you as a Black female
mm,
feel safe?
I would definitely say knowing knowing certain people, or like having a connection with certain people through like the events that I've talked about before. So having those people to call, to message, like, and them know exactly where you are outside of base or, whatever the case may be. I think that gave me more calm about, because if I was just out there and like absolutely no one knew I was, there or what have you, then I would probably be more worried. Once a dangerous situation happens, then I'm like, oh yeah, who do I call? Or who would know where to find me if I were to, not have communication that they heard, there was something wrong. So that was definitely something that made me more comfortable. So having some type of connection with somebody um, outside of just your immediate family to reach out to them, and if you need anything or what have you. We had several people like that based on my husband's um, contacts within his work and things of that nature. So I knew several wives, and I knew several people that offered different services that we connected through that.
Yeah, I I would consider myself. I push myself forward because I kind of consider myself to be, socially awkward.
I'm the
But
same way.
say um, establishing that a reason why I need to make a connection with people helps me to say, look, I can't be out here trying to make my way trailblazing. That's exhausting. And that's not the space that I moved abroad to be, is exhausted. So, being having some intention, leveraging your spouse, especially if they are more social.
Yes, my husband, he can talk to anybody.
So, but having a purpose for making those connections. They don't have to be your best friend, right? But they need to be people you can call and say, hey, can I borrow a cup of sugar? Or, hey, our car is down. I need a ride to X.
Mhm.
Just if you have your back against the wall, knowing that you're not alone, that's what I see being a real people are beginning to talk about, I need to go back home. It's because they haven't made those connections to the community, but also no one, you don't have a circle. Like you haven't reached out. And so those of us who are in that social, having social anxiety or socially awkward, yeah, we need to be intentional about finding some things you can share and identifying some people you can share it with. The group is a great opportunity to just introduce yourself. Hey, I'm what do you call that? I'm scouting Valencia. I've seen Valencia several times in the chat today. I'm in Valencia. Hey, would anybody like to meet for coffee? Y'all, I'm gonna stop for coffee for 30 minutes. That helps me to know there's a beginning
Yes.
and an end,
Mhm.
and then that I don't have to overly share and feel exhausted.
Yeah.
So yeah, um,
One of the things that we've discussed before in the safety conversation has been the difference between how women and men view safety. I think for
Mhm.
women, it's about comfort, it's recognition, it's familiarity. For men, it's protection, it's proximity, and it's especially as Black men, our interactions with people who are not of color, dealing with the law. And I may be asking you to answer this for your husband, but how do you feel safety wise? How do you feel family wise, safety wise, in regards to those things? As Black men, one of the concerns that Black men have had moving from the States is, am I going to be treated the same way somewhere else that I'm going to be treated here? One of the concerns is that Europe is Europe. A
Yeah.
lot of the history of our people in enslavement starts in Europe, starts in Spain, starts in Portugal, starts in Britain. And so there's a lot of that concern. How would you address that for people who have that kind of concern, specifically men?
Um, like you said, like I hate that I would speak for my husband, but it's just that I know that when we walk out and we go somewhere new, he definitely, I could, tell that, a bit of armor was on him, as, being more vigilant, making sure that we're, very close to him, especially our girls, because, they like to wonder, they're not thinking about all the things that we're weary of. So I could definitely say that, once he sees that, once we interact with wherever our destination is, or we happen to, get a smile here and there, which isn't very often. You kind of get, stares like, I'm curious why you're there. But, you know, I think just like you were saying, that protection is also this confidence that we kind of wear as protection. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like we might be a little fearful, like, oh, this is new. I'm not sure what to expect. But there's also this like pride and this confidence. It's like, hey, I'm here. You see me. That's it. It's nothing big. Keep staring or cause any type of negative experience. But once we settle somewhere or we go to a restaurant we're aiming at, just the customer service or just the social, the people aren't really paying attention anymore. They stare, they their looks, now they're eating the food or whatever. Then it's like, okay, now, let's just, let's, experience just like they're experiencing. But I think it's just like the air of what's going to happen. But once you're in it, like you're eating your food, enjoying it, your waitress is like, things of that nature, it kind of makes you a bit more comfortable. Obviously, you don't let it, fall off. You don't,
Right.
completely forget, but you don't let, just like you were saying earlier, you don't let it, hinder you from that experience either. You still want to, be there. You don't want to be just fearful and, um, things of that nature and keep you from enjoying it just like everybody else is. So I would definitely say it's always up, but you also let yourself enjoy it as well, so you don't, leave exhausted because all you're doing is being protective,
Gotcha.
and you think that, everything's gonna be imminent, but yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay.
excellent. We've talked about that in the group too. You know, people ask questions. What I wanted to make sure that I said in the group is Spain is it 021? You have a reporting line
I
now.
think it was a 211. I've seen
There we
it.
go.
Yeah.
Yes. So they have a way for people to report when they're experiencing harassment around racism. That says a lot to me. I know people say that's exhausting. I have to experience it, then I have to report it. But is there anything in our country of origin that allows us to safely report when I have felt that way? Hmm. The country I'm considering is doing that. And so I just want to put that out there that it may be an iterative step as they are trying to address it. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't been in the Black in Spain um, Facebook group. So I'm going to ask another question that I think when people are thinking about moving outside the US, did you already, like, were you bilingual? Did you have a strong command of the Spanish Spain? As a matter of fact, the Sevilla Spanish, because not only do you need, Spanish is not a completely, um, universal language among the Spanish speaking countries, even within Spain. It's like Sevilla has its own, Valencia has its own, Madrid uses it. I mean, like those nuances. Did you know that before? That may be a yes or no. And then and then share your experience about having a command of the Spanish language where you were, and how did it impact your day-to-day experience with your new city.
Okay, of course, I can probably touch on a couple of experiences. So first and foremost, I would love to say that our landlords, David and Marjorie, they were amazing and things of like that nature for us. So as much as like we want to be in our own, but we want to find those that look like us and be around those. But we also want to find those that don't necessarily look like us, but want to support us in a very positive light and be benefits to us without thinking that it's anything abnormal. It's just what's expected. So so things of that nature that we needed translated. Like for instance, like I mentioned before, having a home birth or having a child in another country altogether. We had to go through the actual Spanish system of citizenship for her. So our child Nayla, she's actually a Spanish citizen. So it's like having, because they don't translate in English for you. It's like, and like I like to tell a lot of people that when I say, oh, because you run into rude Americans or rude people that may not be from Spain. I won't say just Americans that will, say, hey, why don't you speak English? Things of that nature. You get that a lot. So, it can be vice versa as well. Like, hey, why don't you speak Spanish? You're here, So, that's one thing. So they didn't like there's no automatic, oh, I'm going to translate all of this for you. You're here. So the midwife we had, and this is interesting enough, another culture that assisted us, that wasn't necessarily of us but supportive of us no matter the case. She was a German midwife that happened to live in Spain for over 20 years, and she's the one that delivered our second born. So she actually took it upon herself to go with us, go with my husband at the time because I was still supporting the newborn, and go to the birth certificate area out of town, translate for us because she actually spoke German and Spanish. And so it was nothing. There was no hassle. There was no like going to look for things because it just felt right. Like having those people around you that naturally know you would need assistance in that area, not because like, oh, you can't do this, it's because this would benefit you, and I don't want you to struggle in that way. So our landlords, they were great. They also helped us on making appointments over the phone because a lot of times you're going to call somebody, our entity, and there's no one that's going to be speaking English because that's not what they're there for. They're not there for you. So they're going to be speaking what most of the citizens are going to be speaking. And if you do find somebody who speaks English, it's just going to be a plus for you because they just happen to want to learn it. It's not necessarily that they had to. But that was always a help. But me and my husband knowing any Spanish, I think from the countries we visited in the past, just being a part of the military, it's always good to know the helpful or useful phrases. So like things of that nature, like getting delivery, things that. So we definitely use the apps for that a lot. I will say a funny story. When we first got there, we were driving around and went to Burger King, and yeah, so it seems so harmless. Oh, have you like you just think like it's gonna be just easy peasy. We're gonna go over there. Something we want done, numero uno or something like that. I don't know. So we go in there. It's straight up Spanish, like you know, do a little introduction, like it's like okay, I'm not sure what you asked us. Well, we just want the big king or whatever the case would be, and like you telling them the affliction in their voice, like you ask them a question like you want this, you want that. I'm like I don't know what you're saying, so we're holding up this line, thinking like oh I don't know what to do. So, so we ended up saying we'll just come around. We're like on the Google Translate trying to like type in stuff like can you hear it, like. So it was ridiculous. But we finally went up to the front. They found someone in the back that happened to know some English, and like kind of like, oh, okay, this is what they want, and they took our order like at that point. But it was just so interesting, like something so trivial that we took for granted. Like we could go to any fast food place in America and just like. You probably know use the vernacular that they have on the menu, just know what you're talking about. But to be in something that seems so simple and it's so complicated at the same time, so it's definitely useful to some useful phrases and especially I feel like it's very important to know what the possible answers are, how they will sound to you. So it's not as though like, oh, I know what to say, but are you going to know how they're responding to you to know, oh, I don't, okay. So,
Yeah, we had a similar. We were lucky enough when we were in Sevilla that actually a lot of people we were interacting with were speaking English. And I think that they could tell we were Americans, so they started off with English with us. So we got lucky with that. So we went to a restaurant. I ordered off the menu the best I could. My Spanish is non. And when we got our order, it looked like it was missing something. I went back to, and she had been kind of, half English, Spanish, kind of bouncing back. So I went back to say, hey, we didn't get this part of the menu. And she completely in Spanish, whatever it was she wanted to say, like I completely understood her. And what I realized as a part of my Spanish challenge is I'm relating to people visually. So I was able to, by the way she was responding, the way she was, I knew what she was telling me, but I didn't understand verbally anything. I don't understand any of the words coming out of your mouth. But how she was expressing herself, I recognized that we had only paid for a part of the meal and not.
We didn't get the combo.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually shout out that the Black Panther is my favorite restaurant where I had a lot of vegan options, and literally pointing on the menu. I want this, y'all. Pointing is okay. Google Translate for the win if you have what do you call that, Wi-Fi access. You don't have to be fluent, but there are folks that want to be more fluent. Being on the ground gives you the reason why. Because we always share this story. So we're in the airport in Mexico. There's an M for the bathroom. So
luckily, I had just done some reading, and I realized M was not male. So I did not walk into the wrong restroom. Because yeah,
Yeah, M was from lettuce, and just some basic Spanish can help you. So that's kind of what we're trying to do is what are some fundamental things. And thank you for the example that you gave. Fluency is always a goal if you're going to be in a place for a while, but should not prevent you from moving or at least
Yes.
exploring.
all right. So my next question, the next challenge for me is, for a lot of people, is cost of living.
Mhm.
So you're talking food, you're talking travel, you're talking housing. Um, how would you compare that to what people recognize?
I would definitely start off by saying that the house that we rented was two-story house, 4 bedrooms, and like I said, in a little nice little area with older folks and a small little. It wasn't a park like had a playground, but a clearing with some vegetation, thing with like bench you could sit. Simple things. You don't need much if you just want to be in peace. So I would definitely say garbage. We had, I think they charged us 1,600 euros for the base rent for that place, and we had utilities like internet, things of that nature that obviously you can, do as you will with it, like with whatever you use it for, and add to that. But here, back in the States, being reminded, and then also our experience like in Hawaii, like being in still in American areas, like that same cost you would get a small apartment, less rooms, you still have to pay utilities. So the fact that we had, and I didn't even, the time that we were there, for how long we were there, I did not get to make that house a home. I always regretted that. Like the office was still like just stuff that was in there, like I'll get to it, but it was just like, I wasn't say that it was a bad project. It was just that you're in a new place, and then you don't feel like you want to go all the time to one thing. You still want to travel. You want to explore and things. So if you just stay in the house, then you wouldn't. If I would stay in the house, and if it would have been a home, by the time we moved, and like, oh, this is nice. I get to take it all down, but I didn't travel anywhere. I didn't experience anything. So I will say, and food wise, groceries out in town, I believe they're very affordable. To me, they're, I won't say cheap, but quality for the price. Like it was kind of unbelievable that I'm getting this really, nice cuts of meat and things of that nature from the butcher, which is also language is a funny experience there too. But but yes, just getting those things fresh. A lot of the produce, everything, a majority of things are very local, grown, and things of that nature. So you don't really have this feeling when you go into like a lot of grocery stores here, where it's like, okay, where's the non-GMO, where's the USDA, organic, it's already, implied. I mean, they have their icons for those things as well, like bio and things of that nature. But it's not hard to feel like everything's healthy, everything's intentionally healthy. It's not like, oh, what are they hiding from me? And like when you're kind of like, look, you're saying a lot of good things in the front, but like what's really in here? It's like a ton of stuff.
I did a video at one of the grocery stores that we were in when we were in Sevilla, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is real food. This is the food with the bumps and the bruises on it, and this chicken is not the size of my chest. This chicken is the size of my palm. This is a real
Right.
size chicken, and
Mm-hmm.
and that level of freshness in travel in general is really amazing to me. I'm a chef, and that's one of the things that's great to me is being able to know that this is about as organic as it comes without it having the organic price tag with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's organic stuff on the shelf here. I don't buy it because I'm like I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not
we,
paying
we don't go
$8.
to we don't go to whole paycheck no more.
Yeah, I'm not paying $8 for 3 organic carrots.
No.
But that was big for me.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I, let's see. So I did have some follow-up questions. I'm going to have, I put up Yolanda's question about what was your move-in cost as far as deposits. Also, a lot of places come furnished. or include utilities. So could you just kind of give, if we're not asking a question that is too personal, what was included in the, I think you said 1,600 euros.
It's from our experiences, like a little negotiation type of, which I think a lot of things abroad come to be haggling, as my husband says in Nigeria, but not. So, we sat down with our landlord. He spoke with him. I was okay with you, like, oh, we can't really budge this, and so it went from there. And then, utilities wise, they tell us what's in the area, what they've already established. And we'll kind of say, okay, well, we would go with this, or we'd rather do this. I know that one of the things they had was security within the home, but they already had bars in the windows and things of that nature. But we were like, we don't really need the cameras. And for our personal reasons, it was like, if you had access to cameras, I really don't want them on, like, I don't know what y'all been looking at or whatever. We are only ones that have access to, again, being a new place, there's not so much I can do, or I would know all the ins and outs to say, hey, who else has access to this? Whereas in America, I can call customer service and kind of hound whoever I need to hound and know where to go. That's the utilities. As far as move-in, as far as deposits, I will say the one thing that we didn't really care for as much as gas. So if we would have stayed on base, it'd been like everything's kind of included. We don't have to worry about gas drums or whatever and things like that. But because we lived downtown, we actually had to order cylinders, like these really huge cylinders, to put inside of this small little uh, house that was outside. There was about four of them, probably tall up to my neck, maybe that's the side of it, beside them, and you had a way to turn them on and off, or which ones to turn on, and if they ran out, you had to it was a guessing game, or you had to be, very used to it for so long that you're like, yeah, I think it's probably getting low. We probably need to order another couple. So there was a couple nights that it would just be me and the girls, and the heat would go off, and then I'm like, and I'm looking at the water little tanks. I'm like, oh, it's kind of cold in here, so So I would have to go out there, and they have these very interesting little salamanders that look very prehistoric to me, but they're not cute. And so they love to live in that little house. So I'll have to go out there and kind of like, finagle, like, okay, which one's on, which one's off, things of that nature. Things that, you know, um, you will probably experience if there are, people that, because I didn't really experience the tank situation as far as getting tanks with uh, fuel and not fuel, but propane and things of that nature, and to do those things. But it was a learning experience. So I will say, as much as you would think, you learn the first time. Nah, I think I probably experienced it 4 times. Like, them running out, and I'm like, did I turn them on, or did the person that came and changed them out? And that's the thing too. Would drive, like, you have to order service. They'll come with a truck with a tank. They'll take your empty ones and put in the new ones. But it's like those small language things I don't think about. Like, I could have easily, if I knew how to say it, I would say, hey, could you make sure all the tanks are, off, and I'll go out there and, choose which one goes on first or second, whatever the case may be, as they run out. Because I think that's where it happened a lot of times. They probably turn them all on, and then as one goes down, they'll go cycle to the next one. And I'm thinking I'm good, on one tank, and and come to find out all four are gone because I got too comfortable, and I didn't know how long it takes to tank. So that's one thing to consider as well. But internet was a usual field. You chose whatever plan you felt like would, suit your needs as far as your devices. Water was not
Was that expensive? Because some of us are paying upwards of $100, $200 for internet and home access.
Right.
I think for us, ours was around, I want to say 60 euros of like the plan we had. But to be honest, like after, you actually do this, I was like, it'll be interesting to just kind of go back and kind of, look at bills and things of that nature, and then actually say from like a very exact and specific, source of like, this is how much these things cost. Here's an example, black out my name and all that. But, but just so that people can get really a real, experience. Because there's a lot of people that obviously experience it, but like to actually see like, hey, here's this, here's that. So I would definitely wouldn't mind like pulling those things up because those are all sent us electronically by our landlord. They're like, hey, because they would still get it at their address, but they would send it, to us to let us see the full PDF of what's being sent and ask if they needed to transfer anything. I'm like, I can see the euros. I know what it is. But yeah. So, but I don't believe it hit to the hundreds in internet, and that's the plan that we chose. So, and we had 2 TVs that were attached. With both of them had Fire Sticks, and yeah, and we had our own phones, 2 phones, and 2 tablets, but the tablets were just for the girls to look at, download videos every now and then, so it wasn't too much for the pool. So, yeah, I would definitely have to just look at it and tell you the brand and what plan we had. But I didn't come prepared for that, but I wish I did.
Yeah. I wanted to, as you were, the cultural aspect, kind of adjusting to the differences. Every country, every city within a country has a different cultural norms.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that is nuanced. Very few people can kind of say what it, in our city, it is socially acceptable to. And so I know we've talked about, Rick is sharing about Portugal, but what were some of the cultural differences that you noticed?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So I'll start it off by saying everybody knows that I fell in love with siesta.
Mm-hmm.
Like, siesta isn't just a time on the clock. Siesta is a mentality. It is a way of living. I know what happened was we got in really late our first night, and woke up at about 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I was just like, oh, it's almost siesta at 2. We're gonna run and try to get some food.
We hit the streets at 2 o'clock, and we were the only people on the street.
Exactly.
And we were walking the streets. We had a nice, lovely walk along. I think
I already knew what you were gonna say.
There was a shop or two here or there. I think we were able to grab some pizza. Everything else.
At 5 o'clock, we were finally able. We went to the corner store and picked up some snacks.
Yeah,
that's about as heavy because the lady was like, kitchen closed. That was the extent of her English.
Yeah, they were serving alcohol, but that was it.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll see people exercising around that time. You'll see families out maybe, but there will not be any like, hey, where can we go eat? Like, I hope you got something planned for but yeah, I definitely, and I will say, I don't know if I touched on the apps that they have there for delivery and things of that nature. You'll feel that siesta hit hard on the app too. Because like here, you can like, 300 or something, restaurants open, you go to Spain or wherever you're at, and you're like, unless you're in the downtown area, that would be like, we're in like out in the little ways of like, if you get anything, you might get like a Turkish place, kebabs, because they usually are trying to be up. But it's like, I got tired of kebabs, like really quick, so I was like, I might sleep in on my siesta, like literally, I'm like, okay, cool. And I wake up, I'm like, dang, well, I guess I got to get some kebabs, get some falafel. Because, I didn't cook anything. And my girls are so young, and if my husband's at work, I'm like, I guess I'm eating falafel, so.
And that experience there helped me understand some things I didn't recognize in cultural restaurants here. So if you go to Indian restaurants or Asian restaurants here in the States, they close at 2 o'clock. They open at 11, they close at 2, they open back up at 5. All of them. Indian, Asian, because that time of day, that break time, that prep time is important. And so, our favorite Oriental style restaurants or places of Asian descent are all closed 2 to 5. So if you miss them,
You missed
you
them.
miss them till 5 o'clock.
No, funny you mentioned that. Like, there's a Filipino bakery that has like this amazing, amazing Spanish bread and things that we love ordering from there. And it's like I kept getting this rude awakening. I never, because I'm back in America. I'm like, she should be open all the time. Like, okay, maybe I hit a prep date and I'll forget about it. And I was like, oh, I think I want to eat that. And I'll go like, why is she never available? So I like me being lazy. I'm like, let me find it. Look at her hours. And she's like closed, I think Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, and she's only open to like, around 5, and on the weekends it's like even shorter, around like 3 or something or 2. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like she's making me like have flashbacks to Spain right now because like, I really want it. I have my mouth ready to eat this, and it's like, oh, no more Panasol today, I guess. But anyway.
So there's the aspect of the no rush that I think I've had to grasp, kind of we're kind of very time oriented, be on time, time is, we qualify customer service based on their promptness. If you say you're going to be here at 12 o'clock, you're here at 12. I can expect that. Much as I enjoyed siesta, when I talked about the mindset, that's also not in a hurry, which can also have the, like when you're waiting on cable. We'll be here between 2 and 6. We might not get here today. It might be tomorrow. What was your experience with like service delivery where I set a time, we had an agreed upon time. Did that always, kind of come out in the service experience?
Honestly, like we just touched on the heat intake, so what have you, the gas tanks. Like they would always like, I was like, okay, my landlord said, hey, they'll be here. They'll be available from 9 in the morning to around like 3 or something. I'm like, that's a big window. I would like to go get some groceries or something, maybe, And there'll be times I'm like, I'll wait. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they'll come in the morning, get it over with, And I was like, okay, well, it's about, this time. I'll just go quickly because we're like probably a walk. Like it was, I like walking. So, and I'm from the country. So it's like, I don't really mind, walking over here to the store, getting the things. I'd rather not drive if I don't have to. And so I'll go over there with my girls, get some quick groceries, and I come right back like 3 minutes. It's not even those things where it's like I go in there and buy the whole store. Because like when you're out of town and you're away from home, it's not too much you're going to ball out of control. But you're like, I want to get all these things. Like I'll get the essentials that I know and I've tried and I know exactly what they are.
That part.
That I'm not disappointed. So I come back and I see little peeks up from little things like, hey, we missed you or whatever. Okay, so we'll be back. And they'll show that long time. I'm like, why can't y'all just come at the exact time so I know exactly where it is? So it's like, it would happen all the time. And like I told you, there's so many times the tanks will go empty. So it's like, well, let's make sure we stay a bit warm tonight. Ain't gonna be here today.
You would think with our history of CP time that we would be used to.
We would be.
we get salty about it. You know what? And I want to throw this out there. And this is not just a question for you. This is also a question for those. Something that just came to me. We've asked this question about are we being mistreated? Are we being we're used to being recognized as people of color when we walk into a place in the States because we are people of color, because we are Black, or some Black folk just walk in. We're used to the attention being drawn up because we come into a space that we may not feel that we feel welcome in. But I'm wondering if some of the attention that we feel out of country is due to cultural differences and not due to race. And we interpret it as a racial thing because people have complained that they're in Asia and they're telling them they're too loud. But everybody knows that Asians are really quiet in general, especially in public places, unless they want to be loud. They tend to and we tend to be loud in general. And so You know,
Is that a cultural
I wonder
thing?
sometimes if it's a cultural thing and we have translated it to a racial
Racial
thing.
focus. Yeah.
Just a thought.
I mean, I feel like that definitely can happens, and as much as we aren't able to always, say this is exactly what it is, because it's not always going to dialogue exactly with people that are around you to say, hey, is it because what I look like, or is it because what we just do this differently. So sometimes it's like me and my husband will have like a guessing game as to like I mean, maybe did I do this maybe, or did we come at the wrong time, or do not read a sign or whatever the case may be. So we're always like wondering. It's kind of a guessing game. I will say that like I think one of you mentioned earlier, like I think it was you Herman. Am I saying okay? So I didn't want to say H because
It's okay. Either way.
but yes, so it's kind of like we just kind of guess, but at the end of the day, it's like we just kind of try to carry ourselves as though we already belong. So it kind of feels like if there is anything that's out of the ordinary, then it's kind of like, you know, because for me, this is what I can't speak for my husband. This is what I usually do, and this is how I carry myself wherever I am. If I'm going somewhere, and I love to drive, like I know he thinks that I drive crazy, but it's just because I'm very assertive, and I'm not gonna like let anybody push me around or make people think that I'm not from here. That's my whole mantra. My mom always like, she taught me how to drive. Like, hey, just drive like you belong there. So if I miss a turn or something, I just keep going. I don't like, oh my gosh, like like let me slow down and figure what happened. Like I'll find my way back. The exit will bring me back or whatever the case is. So the roundabouts and things of that nature are there. It's just like there will be a lot of people that I would just emulate what they're doing because they're Spanish. So it's like, okay, they're taking this inner like circle before they like, if they're not intending on getting off anytime soon, they'll be in inner circle. So for on base, when they teach you, it's like, hey, if you try and get off and you don't want to get lost inside the circle and get stuck, stay on the outside. But you have those people that would get upset because like, hey, you're blocking this lane and we're trying to get out, because there'll be somebody in the second roundabout that'll be trying to get off that exit and you'll be on the outside still wanting to go around, but they judge that outside lane as you're getting off. So if you keep going and that person in the second lane wants to come out, you're potentially probably going to get hit. So everybody had it was easy for me to realize that as much as I was being told two different things from a Spanish person on base telling us how he does it when he's a local versus what I see. And I'm just going to acclimate and say, hey, if this is how they drive, I'm going to drive the same way. Or drive the same way. So as much as like I would love to just drive on the outside, I'm not going to have my girls and stuff in the car and get hit and be sitting inside a little wonder who's wrong. Like I just know that whatever's right and whatever's safest for me to get off, I just do it. So I will say culturally, I would want to say, hey, I want to do this, and just be wary of where my car is. But culture wise, I'm going to kind of blend in with them and assert it and make it my own, so that's not as though I'm like hesitant or creating a dangerous space for anybody else. And then the other thing, like they take seriously the fast lane versus the slow lane. So there could just be two lanes, and it's like I remember we were driving somewhere long distance, and a couple of Spanish cars. They're kind of easy going. It was one of those very beautiful landscape areas where it's like nothing but green and everything is sunny day. It's like, okay, we're just riding, we're coasting. So I'm in the fast lane, I guess is what they consider it. And I'm just cruising. We're all going the same speed. But I guess like I'm like, just like this car is like in the slow lane. I'm just coasting in the fast lane there. There's nobody out there, just us. And so this person starts honking at me and looking back at me, and they're in a smaller car, and I'm like, why are they concerned about what I'm doing? We're just all driving this long distance. And they just like, I'm like I can stay in this lane. There's nobody here. Like, it's fine. That's something I would do in America. I was like, there's nothing going on in this lane. I don't care. But they actually take it seriously, the passing lane versus, actually, stay. So you have to stay in the slow lane.
I'm from big city. And I accept. I received that message. I wish we would take it more seriously here. Get out of the passing lane. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just fussing.
No,
Sorry, get it out. I'm getting it out. Get out of the passing lane. Cruising lane. I'm sorry. I'm getting it out.
No, it's cool because it's just like because it was such a long distance, so it's like it really irked him to know that I was back there, but I didn't go around him to just be sitting in front of him, and I'm like, why are we just like we just going where we need to go? We haven't even made it to where we're gonna go. We're just out in the middle of nowhere. Like we broke down right now. Like, would you really care that I was so, but yeah, it was very interesting. So like that's another thing. I was just like, oh, let me just stay in this lane because I don't feel like making any Spanish people uncomfortable. And I'm just like chilling over here.
Good question that servant teacher Nikki has.
Right.
Because we will be getting our driver's license when we go back to Mexico to renew, because it's a great way to have local ID instead of just carrying around your FMM if you're in Mexico or your passport. How difficult was it to get your Spanish driver's license? Did you get your Spanish driver's license or did you get the AAA international driver's permit?
We didn't get the AAA international. My husband was considering it, but I was like, that sounds like some test that, like.
But you just show your your unexpired U.S. driver's license. It's like $25. We're gonna get ready to post that video.
Okay.
But yeah, so you got your actual.
Yes,
okay, tell us about the process.
So we didn't, again, so I feel like I'm given a handicap because of the fact we're affiliated with the military. So on base, they basically have a short driver's class where they go over those things like I was mentioning before, the local Spanish gentleman speaking about all the things we need to adhere to, talking about the different signs, what they mean. Then at the end of it, we're all given a test to take in. We take the test, and if we don't, I think it was if we have to make above a 70, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, after we take that, they take our information and then they give us our Spanish driver's license. So that was the process for us. But I can double check. I was looking to see if I had it in my wallet just to kind of show it, but I still have those things just in case, because you know how you're like in different places trying to make some changes with something like, hey, I have a second phone identification. Like, does this count? It has my photo.
There are a lot of benefits to that.
So I'm shifting gears a little bit here, change it to another subject. So I know this is a regional question. Top weather.
Oh,
we were in Sevilla in April, and they had what they said was a heat wave. It was 105. Now, I want to quantify that. Being from Florida, 105, you do not go outside because the humidity is awful. We're in Alabama. Most of us know that we're in Alabama, and the humidity and the temperature this morning at 10 o'clock was 91 degrees. The heat index was 105. So for me, humidity is a big thing. It was 105 in Sevilla in April. We were up on the roof, and I wasn't uncomfortable.
I didn't particularly care for the direct sun,
right?
But there was, because of the way the city is, there was a lot of building shade, and so I wasn't uncomfortable.
I wasn't uncomfortable moving around through the city. Now I know it's regional, so just kind of your feedback in general about.
I think the only thing that was uncomfortable was just being sweaty towards the end of your day if you choose to go out, especially for anything that you needed. Like I said, I like to walk, so on those particular days, probably wasn't gonna be a walk because I wasn't gonna put the girl through that. But yeah, it's just I think it changed the way I would dress just so that, and like you were mentioning, that direct sunlight was a big thing. And where we were, there wasn't a lot of building shade. I mean, you have a shade somewhere around your building, but it was like there wasn't enough high enough buildings for us to actually have a lot of shade like that. And the trees weren't as huge in that area. They're kind of like nice to make it look good on sidewalk type, height trees. So it was just a lot of direct heat from the sidewalk and the road and things of that nature. So you know, so that made it a bit more uncomfortable than what it had to be for those things. But yeah, being from South Carolina, like if it's crazy hot and the humidity, there's no reason I don't want to go out there. But there's always shade, there's always breezes. You know,
And that was what I noticed. And I guess in relationship to that question is how walkable do you consider the areas that you live in? I know you said you like to walk. That's, that's this walk lady over here. How walkable is the area that you live in?
It was very walkable. You always saw people working out every single morning. You saw people working out, and not to like bring up another uh, aspect of our subject matter, but I enrolled our oldest child into a bilingual daycare that was out in town. So that wasn't a walkable thing, but it's just like every morning I had to get up to take her. There was always people out there running or walking their dogs or whatever the case may be. And they had this, in the area that we're in, they had this old folks bus, which we have in America too, for particular things that, you know, pick up old folks from the usual bus stops as well. And so, you know, there was always people out there just sitting around. So no one really like seemed like they were agitated. Like it seemed like a choice for me. It was kind of like, this is just life, you know, we out here, you know, temperatures, whatever. It'll be the same usual people that I would see. Oh, there's a guy running, you know, here's, you know, this old lady waiting. I mean, older lady. Oh, I don't feel like being mean to my grandma in a second. But anyway, this older lady, you know, and dogs you would see, usual kids, you know. So I would definitely say that, yeah, it just seemed like it was pretty ordinary as far as where I was. That, you know, it didn't really affect me that much. No.
Early morning, there were a lot of people out, and then late.
Mhm.
So what we loved about Sevilla, what I loved about Sevilla was, okay, so, you know, we talked about siesta, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you know, but so as the sun went down, we would see families, grandparents, children, grandchildren out walking. 10, 11 o'clock, the playgrounds, you know, the bars, you know, so I'm walking with my gelato and kids are playing in the little park area, you know, and parents were having drinks with friends. It was, and so you can see how the lifestyle incorporates, you know, the cultural values, but also like very, you know, people were out during the warmer parts, but you could tell more people were coming out as the sun went down, as it got,
Mm.
um, you know, as it got cooler. So, you know, it's one of the things you want to be aware of because that can run you out of town. It can run you out of town. Let's see. So we have a question about neighbors. Were your neighbors friendly?
Yes, they're very friendly. When we first moved in, our landlord actually took my husband to uh, go speak to our neighbors because I believe I was doing something again with the cleaner. And we're still getting acclimated. So I, being a black woman, I'll say it this way: I didn't feel like I looked the part to be going meeting company yet or whatnot that I may have in the house later on or something. You know, I was like, I gotta have a fresh face, and that day wasn't a day, you know. So but yeah, he met them. He thought they were amazing. Whenever there's something like for instance, when the heating tanks come and like, hey, I think they came by and you're here, you know, or either like our landlords will say, hey, we'll just let your neighbors know to, you know, let them know to go ahead and drop them off or drop whatever, you know. So they were very friendly, and if we will pass by them, I think the neighbor to our left, they're an older couple. The neighbors to our right, they're an older couple, but not as old as the ones on our left. And they had children that will always kick their soccer ball like douche, 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 and they always come over the fence. And we have several soccer balls in our backyard that when I went back there to hang laundry, which is another thing that I was already used to it because we would do it in the country. Hanging up laundry on the line, but like I hadn't done it in a while after I moved away from home. So that was something like I used to. Every time I go out there and do that, I was like, okay, where are the balls at? Find the balls thrown back over, and they'll be bouncing away, or either they would come over. The children were comfortable. That's another thing. They were comfortable, and the neighbors were comfortable sending them over, and they would ring our doorbell, say, and they never spoke in English. Just hear the little boys speaking Spanish. I already knew what they wanted, but I was just I would just buzz them in, and they run back there and do what they need to do. And I had no inclination when it came to safety, like, oh, they're casing it or doing anything wrong or they're about to take anything. It was just like simplistically little boys coming to get things, that I would otherwise just give to them anyway. So once Tara left, the older couple, they love watering their plants all the time because the water would seep through the fence and come to our side. But if they see us, they speak, smile, what have you. So I would definitely say that it was very friendly neighborhood I was in. I didn't experience any negatives that I may have heard here and there, maybe from other people in other areas out in town. But like I said, it was an older community where I was living, so I don't think they really had the time, to be, upset. But and I don't know, there was always people entertaining, like family or friends that were coming over. So it seemed like they knew they had a very nice area, so no need to like bring negativity into it. I don't know. It's just the kind of feel that I got from the area. So.
Oh wow. Yeah. So this is a question that I have.
Two questions.
I was about to say, servant teacher Nikki, I'm gonna combine your questions. So he's asked about the water. Did you drink the water? Because people, let's see. So Mexico does do the gas delivery and the water delivery. Did you get both, or did you drink the tap water?
We didn't get water delivery, but we did. I know that for me, I would buy water every now and then, but we use the filters, pure filter and things of that nature for it. And we got it from off base. I don't think we ever bought it out in town. They might. I mean, more than likely, I know I've seen it, but I wouldn't know if I would have gotten the right adapter and stuff like that. But I will say from Hawaii, because since me and my husband got married, from Hawaii to now, we've always used that same particular type of filter. Not sure the quality difference that it made, because as we know, there's until you get somebody that's no testing, like, hey, it ain't made no difference, you got whatever you got. So yeah, that's the highest point that, and like I said, stopping that every now and then, because at that time I was just beginning to be more serious about being vegan. So that's where I was really label savvy. So I was always thinking about, I'm just gonna go get this. I'm using water to make this, what have you. So yes, that we use the pure filter. That's the height of our water use. We didn't get into it.
You mentioned pure filter. Let's see. So y'all, I just found out Costco is all over Spain. Yes. So let's see. So they're in Malaga, Valencia, Zaragoza. There are a couple of locations in Madrid. Yeah, I mean, you're not leaving behind things that that you are familiar with. Mm-hmm. IKEA, I guess, is everywhere. You're going to have some of the thing. Burger King, KFC was everywhere. Taco Bell was in Morocco. We saw Taco Bell. I was just like, so the things that bring you comfort are in the places. They may be more expensive, but that kind of brought me a little bit of comfort that I love to buy in bulk. So that's definitely, let's see. So you want to stay on that one? Okay. So we want to ask the residency question. So though you were there for your deployment, did you all consider getting residency while you were there? Or because your daughter was born there, did you have a path to residency or permanent residency or citizenship because you for family unification like we've seen in other countries?
It's funny you mention that, because my husband, being from Nigeria, he's we're going to go through the process for that to get Nigerian citizenship with him through family. But as far as our daughter, I know she's a citizen, but I know he's very invested in knowing how to do that because he wants to do, make sure we're citizens, whatever we can get citizenship to. But if I remember correctly, I feel like he says that she can be a leeway to it, but I let him do that because like I don't mind getting the citizenship. I just the research part of it, like I'll leave that to him. But yes, I haven't personally delved into whether or not she's our pathways to getting citizenship all together. But I know we're definitely doing Nigerian citizenship at some point in time, very very soon actually.
And I'm the researcher when it comes to the residency stuff. And what I love is that Spain, December of last year, now has the digital nomad visa. We're going to have Nikki and David on to talk about NowCap and the student visa because that's a path that we're looking at for going to Spain. There's the retirement level visas, temporary. There are lots of different paths to being in a country longer term. So, if you're not in the military or don't have a job that sends you there, there are multiple paths that are available, and we're going to be talking about that on our channel for sure. Coming up at the end, between the end and late September. All right, we got another question. How was the grocery shopping in Spain versus in the States?
So this question is coming from my mother. Hello, Mom. How you doing? And it's funny. It's funny that she asked that question because she came out there to visit before, so she knows it. Anyway, but yes, the grocery shopping is great. It's very relaxing. You get those occasional stares, especially from children, just because they don't really see the shade as often. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just a glance. It's not. I've never really gotten anything overpowering. I have mentioned in the group that I have experienced. I wouldn't say racism, but just being too comfortable. It's kind of like don't touch my hair situations. But that was in Malaga, and it wasn't my hair; it was my daughter's hair. But yes, grocery shopping is simple. Like we talked about before, the healthy options, the freshness. I will say that I haven't experienced anything that's matched that in the other places I've been so far that I've experienced in Spain, which I wouldn't have assumed. If someone just said, "Hey, which of these places do you think has the perfect thing?" I probably wouldn't have said Spain first, because it's not necessarily I think of it as a negative way, but it's just like it doesn't come to mind like, oh, Spain would be the place that would have it. But yes, so it's definitely a very very good experience. I love the fact that when you go to because was it? I want to say it's not. I know the mall that we were close to is called El Centro, but the market that is inside, what is the market called? It's one of the very popular ones that's everywhere. Carrefour, yes. I don't know if that's even how you pronounce it. That's how I pronounced it the whole time I was there.
Okay.
It's CARRFOUR. So, but yes, that particular grocery chain that's all throughout there, aside from El Dia and Supermarketo, or I think it's another one. Yes, it was very comfortable there. The way you order your meat, your fresh meat and things of that nature, they have a kiosk for the meat, the cheese, as well as the fish. So it's kind of like you just choose a ticket for either one. They call your number, you get the dialogue with them and ask you what you want. And aside from everything else, is very fresh. The produce is very, very fresh as well. So I would definitely say, like, for that time I had the base lets you do home-based businesses. So I did juicing for like the military community there. If now that I'm not there, I can't do it as much because that's one thing I will say that I like. But I can't say that was the Spanish area, or more so just the affiliation again, but being able to just go out and this very fresh produce and juice it and know that I'm giving like the absolute best. I'm not really second guessing it. And the people around there know that it's fresh. So it's not like they're even like thinking like, what, she went to the US and got, GMO stuff and it came back with it. No, like this has came off base. This is like so yes, I love the local feel. And like my husband, since we've been here, they actually went back to Rhoda recently, and he got like a bunch of the honey from there, and kind of commandeered that and brought it back. So you know, he just absolutely loved that honey. So he has like 4 big tall jars of it and things of that nature. So it's that good of quality where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the grocery store to get some keepsakes, not necessarily go get something very awesome, you know. But yes, grocery shopping is awesome and comfortable. I just think I look very nice. That's why people, stare at me. I don't really think too much about it anymore. I mean, not anymore now, but then I just got, and my girls, like if I had them with us, like, oh, no, she got 2 of them. So,
I've seen several Black women when they're going to a country. There's a T-shirt that says in the language, "Don't touch my hair." Don't touch my hair. Even onesies for the babies that say, "Don't touch my hair."
I should have had that. It's so funny how that happened, though. We're actually at the let me look at how to pronounce it real quick. I wrote it down.
Aldi's is in Sevilla, and you could take the oranges and squeeze your own
Yes,
orange juice.
they have a lot of those machines.
Yeah.
I will say, only caveat I would give that, not as a bad, it's a great, it's awesome. Like they had those in Carrier 4 as well that you can go. They'll have the little self-closing bottles as well, so you don't even have to worry about like if you're getting for somebody else, they'll know if you tampered with it or not. But it's just sometimes the cleanliness. Because the first time I ever used them, like they had, fruit flies are always naturally going to drawn to very natural stuff. So that's just one thing to be wary of when you do it. Anybody they already are thinking of using them or want to use them, like just be wary because like if you're doing it, sometimes they'll kind of get into your drink, so just kind of wave it a little bit before you start it up, so you can be with it. Because I was like, but I got it for because I was doing some doula work with a midwife that delivered my baby. And she was like, I was like, what would you like? And she was like, oh, could you give me some fresh squeezed orange juice from Nordia? I was like, okay, cool, I can do that. And it was my first time using one before, and I just did it. And I got to the car, and I saw there were like 2 fruit flies, and I was like, oh no, I don't want them. So that's my personal experience. So that's stayed in my mind. I was like, every time I see one of those now, it's like, yeah, make sure that wait for it.
Absolutely.
So this is my last question. Unless you have another one.
Yeah, I'll see.
My last question is for those of us who are deciding and looking, why would you recommend, if you would, because you might not, why would you recommend Spain? Or what was some things you might recommend about Spain, or some things you might say also be cautious about or consider?
To be honest, it's not that I don't recommend Spain. I think it's once you travel to different places, you start getting this feel of what you like more in different places. For Spain, I love the aspect of travel. It was just so, I won't say flawless, but for the sake that, as an American, I would understand that it would probably be harder because it's not Expedia, quick this and that, just thinking it that way. But it was pretty much the same feeling of anything. Just the moving throughout it just felt more free and more natural. So like the train rides, the road trips that like me and my husband, we actually drove to Portugal from El Porto. And it was when we let our children stay with our family back home or whatnot. And it was just like the ability to just drive to Portugal and not think too much about it. But you're in a whole different place. This isn't like you're going to like South Carolina to, Florida or, like Alabama, like you both live in. Like that's simple, like okay, we're going there. But like it's that simple too. It's easy. Like as long as you got the car, you can do it. What else? just the flights. I think when we went to the UK coming from Spain, it was just so simple, and just and experiencing the different cultures on your transit there. It's not just the usual Americans you'll see going, they're connecting a flight to go to Dallas or something like that. You might see somebody international here and there, but there's like it's just normal. You're gonna see all these different, this cornucopia of different people, and it's just amazing. And it just kind of gets you more amped up for whatever you're about to experience for the first time. So for Spain itself, like I just love the country areas, like the siesta feel. It kind of brings you back down from having all these high expectations of now, or work. It's kind of like calm down. It's kind of forcing you, as an American, to take some time for yourself and actually think about what's really mattering at this moment. Or plan ahead, um, so for me, I think I like other countries more for the sake of like the things that they offer me in particular. Like I like the UK. I really like Portugal. I did not expect that because I never really thought of going there. But just the history that was so rich. That's one thing after taking that Lisbon tour, I really would hope that there's like things like that everywhere, especially in Europe, throughout Europe, because it was so emotional and like happy at the same time of hearing him explain these things and just knowing you're walking these same like trails and in the same place that people that look like you just feel a different way about it. Same people, just not same people, but the people, the similar culture that you're around at that time didn't really take you seriously at that point. So I love the history that you can learn from different places. I think that would make me like Spain more if I knew more about that. But I think that's the reason why we visited Rock of Gibraltar as well, because that had a Moorish and Black history to it as well, that we might kind of put our feet on the ground in a place that you don't hear about, and especially being from like a small country in a country area in South Carolina, Darlington. All we got is NASCAR, and hear about your Black history, and you're thinking like, wow, that's crazy that it happened over there. I mean, but you ain't like, like letting my country, tongue slip a little bit. But anyway,
You're all right. Do you think?
being able to actually go and put your feet on the ground in those places, those European places that you would think you never like really been, like be breathing that same air, or walking the path that you're possibly your ancestors may have like touched. That's what I like about Spain and what it afforded me. But as a place, I would think it's somewhere to just have an easy life. Or if you have something that you have lined up there, you just know it's going to be a comfortable life. That's what I would say. But I wouldn't say it's a party town, like I said before. It might get lit, at night, but it's not the kind of lit that people going to get. Young people going to be looking forward to, like family lit. That's why.
There are a lot of the cities that we're in other Spain expat groups, because there is Black in Madrid. I mean, there are groups around.
I think it's
Some
Melanin
are
Madrid.
Melanin. That's right, Melanin Madrid.
Yeah.
So the questions that people should be asking is, is this a family-centered place? If those things are important to you, make sure you're in the groups and you're looking or asking for those kinds of things. But when y'all get in there, please use the search tab, because like you said at the very beginning, somebody's probably asked that question before. And so you can get, you can see how it's been answered. I've gone in and asked for updates. So people have said, hey, I'm trying this new hair braider or loctician, and you can go back and ask, how did it go? I mean, like, you got any pictures? I want to see. So get in the groups, get on the ground. Those are the things that we promote on our channel. This is the first connection we've made with a thought leader from a space. So I want to say for sure, thank you. You have made a huge difference. We met AG3.
Mhm.
They are another YouTube content creator. We met them through your channel, and then they were on Rick and Halisi's channel, Our Black Utopia. So I mean, this if you've got questions, y'all ask them and then go. That's the only way you're gonna know that a place is for you. But also making these one-to-one connections are so important, and we're glad that you said yes. Taryn said yes. That her husband said your husband and your children said we're gonna give mommy a whole hour and a half.
She almost didn't. Tahira was like, "Hey, I need something to drink before you leave," and I was like, "I'm on the cusp, but we're gonna see if you get what you need." Because I was like, "I'm glad I drink that coconut water."
As a birth and postpartum doula, I'm looking forward to bringing my skills wherever I am in the world to know that there are midwives. It is World Breastfeeding Month, but it is Black Breastfeeding Week. So support a mama, support a new mama, and that you are connected with during this time. I want to say thank you to everyone that joined us today. D. Walker, we might see you in those those streets in Spain. Locating Cozy. Yolanda knows, I'm coming through. Servant Teacher D. We're going to continue to talk about Spain. We're going to continue to uplift it. Can you share where we can find Black in Spain on the socials as we end?
Well, if you just go on Facebook and type in Black in Spain, it should be at the moment the only one that pops up. I make a good point to connect any other melanin focus groups to that page. I think I automatically, when I start the page, I'll put it to where it would, the rules and be like, hey, no self promotion. I don't mind that. I also put it in a welcome message like, hey, self promote. So it's kind of like, so don't take those rules too crazy. And I want everyone to know that I try my utmost to, I know it doesn't seem like it is huge yet, but I do my utmost to screen everyone. And I do welcome people to moderate if they want. They don't have to have the official title. If you want it, you can, let me know. I can make it moderate. But if you tell me, I'll look it up. I don't mind. Like I don't, I make time because it's something I was very passionate about, and I still am. And as far as searching, I'm one of those people that I learned the hard way. So I'm like, hey, it's on that site already, and I started, searching all the time. But I will say, I'm not the kind of person that's like very stringent and like, like I'm gonna kick people out of the group and this and that. Like I'm so easygoing. Like if you ever met me, like you probably think like, why is she so quiet? But it's when I'm engaged in conversation, that's when I actually talk. But I really want a lot of people to get what they want out of it. If you're introverted, you love talking to people. I want connections to happen. That's why in that welcome message, I'm like, baby showers, whatever you got going on, just like, have people around you that want to support you and that, are thinking that you're something that's different in this space that's different. You're in a different country, but, you're just doing things that you love. I just want all those to happen. And one thing I did make a point I want to shout out is Heather Proctor, because I'm not sure if y'all have spoken to her, or I don't know if she's put her in the group yet, but she has Black in Portugal. Funny thing, like we went to boot camp together, like seriously the same compartment. Like she was in the brother division, but we were right across the hallway from each other in Navy boot camp. And it's so funny because when I started it and I saw that Black in Portugal was a thing too, I was like, wow, but I didn't know she owned it yet. But like I said, I got inspired by Black in Hawaii. But it's funny that because it's so flourishing and it's so beautiful what she's doing over there. She has veteran connections established. Like she's an inspiration for me to get to her level. So I definitely love that she's doing it, and she travels with her daughter and shows her daughter all these amazing things throughout abroad as well. So trying to be like her. So I definitely wanted to shout her out. But thank you all so much for this opportunity. This is the first time I've ever been asked to interview for something like this. I didn't really, and it took me by surprise when y'all sent it to me, because I was like, oh, okay. That's why I kept saying, where are the questions? So I can be prepared. So I'm not like, I have no idea. But I love this interview. It was so relaxing. It was so just so family like it. Just share what we all know.
You've done a great job giving information to me.
Yes.
I hope so, because like I said, I ramble.
No, it's good.
I know my husband is probably going to invite your husband to join.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to commit in the presence of our audience to say we want to help what you do grow. So I will be connecting with you on Let's Grow Black in Spain.
Oh yes.
I want people to see Spain as much of a viable option as Portugal is, to be able to see the vibrant community in comparison to Black in Spain and to other melanin focused groups that are across the globe. So you all are going to see us interview these people who step up and step forward. And the expectation is that when you go, you can be a light. You can be a Taryn to say, I will create a soft landing, a safe space for melanin people in the places that we go. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Please like this video, share this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, because we go live weekly, sharing our journey and sharing the great places across the globe where we are not just surviving. We're out of the survival mode. We are thriving in these international streets and want to give you the tools and resources to do that as well.
Thank you for being here. And as always, we out.
Hold on, Taryn. We'll say goodbye.
Okay.